Did you know that Islam is the fastest growing religion in the world? At the same time, it faces unprecedented challenges that may define its fate in the coming decades. Wars, technological advances, cultural shifts, and increasing globalization create a scenario where the future of this millennial faith is uncertain. Will Islam be able to maintain its strength in a world rapidly advancing toward modernity? Or will its foundations weaken under internal crises and external pressures? In this video, we'll dive deep into the transformations underway, revealing the factors that could ensure Islam's survival or put it at risk in the 21st century. Stay until the end, as you'll be surprised by stories, data, and perspectives you've never imagined. Islam, one of the oldest and most influential religions in human history, continues to grow at an accelerated pace. According to the Pew Research Center, Islam is the fastest growing religion globally, and by 2050, it may rival or even surpass Christianity as the world's largest faith. This growth is driven by a combination of factors, including high birth rates in predominantly Muslim countries, a younger demographic compared to other religions, and a strong foundation of faith that continues to attract new adherents in various parts of the world. One of the most significant reasons for Islam's growth is its predominant presence in regions with rapid population growth, such as Sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia. These countries have higher birth rates, which means the Muslim population grows proportionately faster. Additionally, migration plays a crucial role. In Europe, for instance, the number of Muslims has increased due to the influx of refugees and immigrants from the Middle East and Africa, bringing not only their culture but also their faith. Another relevant factor is the number of converts. While data varies, it is known that Islam attracts thousands of people annually, especially in the United States and Europe, where many find answers to spiritual questions and a renewed sense of purpose in life through Islam. For some, the simplicity of belief in one God and the clear ethical system of Islam are highly appealing. Another fascinating point is how Islam combines tradition and modernity. For many of its followers, the religion offers a sense of belonging and connection in a world where values can seem fragmented. Practices such as daily prayer, fasting during Ramadan, and pilgrimages to Mecca remain deeply rooted in communities worldwide. However, this growth comes with challenges. Modernity, with its values of individualism and questioning of traditions, demands adaptations from Islam that are not always easy. Young Muslims in Western countries, for example, often face an identity conflict: how to remain faithful to the religion of their parents and grandparents while adapting to societies that often have diverging values. The growth of Islam also does not go unnoticed and, in many places, generates intense reactions. In Western countries, the expansion of the Muslim population is often accompanied by debates about immigration, cultural integration, and the influence of Islamic values in historically Christian societies. In some regions, this translates into prejudice, exclusionary policies, and acts of Islamophobia that test the resilience of Muslims. Despite these external challenges, Islam continues to thrive. This is a testament to its spiritual strength, its adaptability, and the dedication of its followers, who find in the religion not only a divine connection, but also a sense of community and purpose. Although growth is a sign of vitality, it also raises a question: will expansion alone ensure Islam's survival? Or will it be necessary for the faith to confront the cultural, political, and spiritual challenges of a century marked by globalization and constant change? Throughout history, Islam has demonstrated a remarkable ability to unite millions of people around a common set of beliefs. However, this apparent unity conceals deep internal divisions, the greatest of which is the split between Sunnis and Shiites. This division, which dates back to the early years after the Prophet Muhammad's death, is not just a theological issue, but also a political, cultural, and social conflict that continues to shape the Islamic world. The split between Sunnis and Shiites began with a dispute over who should lead the Islamic community after Muhammad's death in 632 CE. Sunnis, who represent about 85% of Muslims worldwide today, believed the leader should be chosen from the most qualified followers of the community, resulting in the selection of Abu Bakr as the first caliph. Shiites, on the other hand, argued that leadership should remain within Muhammad's family, recognizing Ali, the Prophet's cousin and son-in-law, as his rightful successor. This difference of opinion evolved into a deeper division, with each group developing its own traditions, practices, and interpretations of Islamic law. Though the split occurred over 1,400 years ago, its consequences are still visible today. Many conflicts in the Islamic world can be attributed to this division. In the Middle East, for example, rivalries between countries like Saudi Arabia, majority Sunni, and Iran, majority Shiite, are often fueled by religious issues, even as they also involve disputes over political and economic power. Moreover, Shiite communities in Sunni-majority countries like Bahrain, Pakistan, and Saudi Arabia frequently face discrimination and repression. Conversely, Sunni communities in Shiite-majority regions like southern Iraq also suffer from tensions and marginalization. These conflicts not only harm cohesion within the Islamic world, but also provide fertile ground for exploitation by external forces, such as Western powers or extremist groups. The division between Sunnis and Shiites is one of the greatest challenges for Islam in the 21st century. While other religions also face internal divisions, the fragmentation of Islam is especially relevant due to its direct influence on geopolitical issues. The lack of unity within the religion can weaken Islam's ability to address global challenges such as Islamophobia, extremism, and cultural shifts. For instance, while Sunni and Shiite religious and political leaders often speak of reconciliation, few concrete advances have been made. Mutual distrust runs deep, and any attempt at cooperation is often undermined by conflicting interests. Despite centuries of division, there are signs that reconciliation is possible. In some communities, Sunni and Shiite Muslims have worked together to overcome local tensions. In times of crisis, such as natural disasters or wars, Muslim solidarity often transcends sectarian divisions. Furthermore, influential leaders within both traditions have encouraged interfaith dialogue, recognizing that Islam's survival in the 21st century depends on its followers' ability to find common ground. The scientific and technological advancements of recent centuries have profoundly transformed the world, bringing changes that challenge many religious traditions. Islam, with its rich history of contributions to science and philosophy during the Islamic Golden Age, now finds itself at a crossroads. While some Muslims see modernity as an opportunity to reaffirm Islamic values in a new context, others perceive it as a threat to the purity of their faith. During the Islamic Golden Age, between the 8th and 13th centuries, Muslim scholars played a fundamental role in advancing human knowledge. Astronomers like al-Biruni, mathematicians like al-Khwarizmi, the father of algebra, and physicians like Avicenna left legacies that shaped the development of science in the West. For many Muslims, this period is proof that faith and reason can coexist harmoniously. However, the modern narrative often places science and religion in opposition, a challenge not unique to Islam, but one that takes a unique form due to the specificities of its doctrine and its relationship with the societies where it predominates. Modern technology has brought significant opportunities and challenges to Islamic communities. The Internet, for example, has allowed Muslims worldwide to connect, share knowledge, and practice their faith in innovative ways. Platforms like YouTube and TikTok are filled with Islamic content, including Quranic lessons, theological debates, and discussions on contemporary issues through the lens of Sharia. At the same time, the digital space that connects also exposes Muslim communities to ideas that can be seen as threats to traditional values. Issues such as women's rights, sexual freedom, religious pluralism, and modern ethics are intensely debated, often polarizing communities. Western values like individual freedom, gender equality, and the separation of religion and state have challenged Muslim societies to reconsider the relationship between their faith and the contemporary world. In some cases, these ideas are seen as incompatible with Islamic teachings. For example, countries like Saudi Arabia and Iran have resisted adopting Western models, opting instead to preserve systems based on Sharia law. However, there are Muslim communities, particularly in the diaspora, that have found ways to harmonize Western values with Islamic faith. Young Muslims in Europe and the United States have spearheaded movements that blend Islamic teachings with the advocacy of civil rights, racial equality, and social inclusion. One of Islam's greatest challenges in the 21st century is balancing technological modernity and Western values with its rich spiritual tradition. Many Islamic scholars argue that Islam does not need to reject modernity, but rather reinterpret it through its fundamental principles. The concept of ijtihad, the practice of independent interpretation of Islamic law, has been advocated as a tool for adapting Islamic teachings to contemporary issues. This approach seeks to maintain Islam's relevance in a constantly changing world without sacrificing its spiritual essence. Islam's relationship with modernity also depends on how Muslims and non-Muslims interact. Rather than viewing modernity as a clash of values, many see it as an opportunity for interfaith and intercultural dialogue. Such dialogue can help dismantle stereotypes and promote mutual understanding, benefiting both Islam and modern societies. The relationship between Islam and modernity is complex but essential to its survival and relevance in the 21st century. The question remains whether Muslims will be able to synthesize tradition and innovation as their ancestors did during the Golden Age, or whether tensions between science, technology, and contemporary values will further divide the Islamic community. In recent decades, Islam's image has been heavily shaped by associations with terrorism. Events such as the September 11, 2001 attacks in the United States, the 2015 Paris attacks, and the proliferation of extremist groups like Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, and ISIS have created a powerful and harmful narrative that Islam and violence are intrinsically linked. While this perception is unfounded for the vast majority of peaceful Muslims around the world, it has deeply affected how the religion is viewed globally. Terrorism in the name of Islam is, in reality, a distortion of the religion's teachings. The Quran, which serves as the spiritual foundation for Muslims, emphasizes peace, mercy, and justice. One of the most frequently cited verses by Islamic scholars, Quran 5:32, states, "Whoever kills a person, it is as if they have killed all of humanity, and whoever saves a life, it is as if they have saved all of humanity." Extremist groups, however, selectively reinterpret isolated Quranic passages out of context to justify acts of violence. This misuse of sacred texts, combined with political and social motivations, has caused devastation in many countries and contributed to the rise of Islamophobia in others. For most Muslims, acts of terrorism committed by extremist groups are a source of deep frustration and shame. These acts not only distort the essence of Islam, but also place millions of Muslims under suspicion. Many Muslims in Western countries, for example, face discrimination, excessive surveillance, and physical attacks because of their religion. Moreover, governments worldwide have implemented stricter security policies that often penalize entire communities. Anti-terrorism laws in countries like France, the United States, and China frequently lead to the marginalization of Muslim populations, perpetuating cycles of mutual distrust. Part of the persistence of this issue can be attributed to the clash of civilizations narrative popularized by political scientist Samuel Huntington in the 1990s. This theory suggests that Islam and the West are inevitably in conflict due to cultural and religious differences. Although many scholars and Muslim leaders reject this notion, it has been used to justify discriminatory policies and exclude Muslims from the global stage. The media plays a crucial role in perpetuating negative perceptions of Islam. Acts of terrorism carried out by individuals or groups identifying as Muslim receive extensive coverage, while stories of Muslims promoting peace, justice, and solidarity are often overlooked. This imbalance reinforces harmful stereotypes. For instance, groups like ISIS have committed thousands of attacks against Muslims, especially in countries like Iraq, Syria, and Afghanistan. However, these acts are often omitted from global narratives, contributing to the false notion that violence is exclusively directed at the West. To combat the stigma surrounding terrorism, Islamic leaders and communities worldwide have undertaken efforts to reinforce the true message of Islam. Many imams and scholars emphasize traditional Quranic interpretations that highlight values of peace, tolerance, and coexistence. Muslim leaders have also engaged in interfaith dialogue to combat stereotypes and promote cooperation. Meanwhile, young Muslims around the world have used social media to project a more positive image of Islam, sharing stories of solidarity, innovation, and compassion. The survival and growth of Islam in the 21st century largely depend on the ability to separate the religion from the actions of extremists. This requires efforts not only from within the Muslim community, but also broader changes in media, education, and security policies. Terrorism is undoubtedly a significant challenge to the global perception of Islam, but it does not define the religion. The true challenge lies in reshaping this narrative and demonstrating that Islam is, above all, a faith rooted in peace, justice, and compassion. Over the centuries, millions of Muslims have migrated to non-Islamic countries, becoming significant minorities in places like Europe, North America, China, and India. This diaspora has brought unique challenges, as Muslims often face prejudice, discrimination, and pressure to adapt to cultures and value systems vastly different from those of their homelands. At the same time, these communities have demonstrated remarkable resilience, preserving their traditions and fostering intercultural dialogue. The future of Islam in non-Islamic countries reflects the broader global tensions between tradition and modernity. In Europe, Muslim communities have grown significantly due to immigration and higher birth rates. France, Germany, and the United Kingdom, for instance, have large Muslim populations influencing the economy, politics, and culture. Yet this presence has elicited polarized reactions. Many Muslims have thrived, contributing as doctors, engineers, entrepreneurs, and community leaders. However, acts of terrorism and cultural tensions have fueled Islamophobic sentiments among segments of the population, leading to laws such as France's ban on wearing veils in public spaces. These policies often place Muslims in a difficult position, adapt to local norms, or resist in defense of their religious identity. This dilemma is particularly acute for young Muslims, who often feel torn between two worlds. In the United States, the Muslim community is highly diverse, composed of descendants of immigrants and converts from various backgrounds. Historically, American Muslims have successfully integrated into society, contributing in fields such as science, education, and entertainment. However, following the September 11th attacks, Muslims in the U.S. have faced heightened surveillance and prejudice. Political rhetoric and media coverage frequently perpetuate negative stereotypes, placing Muslims under constant suspicion. Despite these challenges, Many young American Muslims have mobilized to combat Islamophobia, using social media and cultural platforms to showcase the true essence of their faith. One of the most extreme examples of pressure faced by Muslims in non-Islamic countries is the situation of the Uyghurs in China. This Muslim minority, concentrated in the Xinjiang region, has been subjected to systematic repression, including mass detentions, the destruction of mosques, and attempts to erase their cultural and religious identity. The repression of the Uyghurs is not only an attack on religious freedom, but also a demonstration of how authoritarian regimes perceive faith as a threat to state control. The international community has spoken out against these abuses, but the Uyghurs continue to face enormous challenges in preserving their faith and culture. Despite these hardships, Muslims in non-Islamic countries have demonstrated remarkable resilience. Through mosques, cultural centers, and Islamic schools, they have kept their traditions alive while also contributing to the societies in which they live. Furthermore, Islam is evolving in non-Islamic contexts, with practices adapted to meet the needs of Muslims living in predominantly secular cultures. These adaptations include celebrating Islamic holidays in public schools, offering halal food in workplaces, and recognizing Islamic laws in family and community disputes. Many Muslim leaders and scholars argue that the presence of Muslims in non-Islamic countries is an opportunity to showcase the inclusive and compassionate face of Islam. Rather than being seen as a threat, Muslims can become cultural bridges that foster understanding and mutual respect. For example, in countries like the United Kingdom and Canada, interfaith initiatives and community projects led by Muslims have demonstrated that faith can be a valuable resource for strengthening communities. The pressure on Muslims in non-Islamic countries is real, but their resilience is equally notable. They face prejudice and challenges, but at the same time, they are building a legacy of inclusion, dialogue, and innovation. Youth is the lifeblood of any religion, and Islam is no exception. Today, over 60% of the global Muslim population is under 30, making young people one of the greatest drivers of change within the faith. However, this new generation faces a complex tension. Preserving the traditions inherited from their parents and grandparents, or embracing the modern and globalized values that permeate their daily lives. Since the early days of Islam, young people have played pivotal roles in spreading the faith. The Prophet Muhammad was supported by young individuals, such as Ali ibn Abi Talib, one of the first converts to Islam, and a significant leader in the religion's history. This tradition of youth involvement remains constant, with new generations often revitalizing Islam in times of change. Today, this revitalization is happening in a very different context, a connected, digitalized, and multicultural world that presents unique challenges and opportunities. One of the greatest challenges for young Muslims is the conflict of identity. Many live in societies that promote secular values, individual freedom, and questioning of traditions. At the same time, their families often expect them to uphold the religious practices, customs, and moral values of Islam. For instance, in the West, young Muslims frequently face pressure to fit into cultures that may be indifferent or even hostile to their faith. Issues like wearing the hijab, abstaining from alcohol, and adhering to daily prayers can place them in situations of social isolation or confrontation. Technology has played a central role in how young Muslims engage with their faith. Social media platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube have become spaces to explore and share Islam in innovative ways. Young Muslim influencers now address complex issues, ranging from theological doubts to dilemmas about dating and careers, using accessible language and visually appealing content. Moreover, technological tools have made religious practices more convenient. Platforms like Muslim Pro help young people track prayer times, locate halal restaurants, and even memorize Quranic passages. This digital connection allows young Muslims to practice their faith in challenging contexts. Education has been a fundamental pillar in transforming Islamic youth. Modern Islamic universities and schools have promoted a version of Islam that values both tradition and critical thinking. Muslim students worldwide are becoming lawyers, scientists, artists, and politicians who integrate the values of their faith into their respective fields. Additionally, many young Muslims are emerging as community leaders, driving social projects, political engagement, and interfaith dialogue. They represent a new generation that not only practices Islam, but also lives it as a force for positive change in their communities. Another fascinating phenomenon is the reinterpretation of Islamic traditions. Young Muslims are revisiting concepts like gender, human rights, and social justice through the lens of Quranic teachings. This approach allows them to adapt Islamic principles to address contemporary issues, ensuring the religion's relevance in an ever-changing world. For example, many young people are challenging cultural norms that are often mistaken for Islamic practices. They argue that Islam offers more flexibility and equality than is practiced in some cultures. This distinction between faith and culture has been crucial in promoting a more inclusive and progressive Islam. While young Muslims face many challenges, they also bring hope. Their energy, creativity, and openness to dialogue are helping to build bridges between Islam and the modern world. They are exploring new ways to live their faith, while confronting prejudice and promoting values of peace, justice, and solidarity. Muslim youth is a dynamic force shaping the future of Islam. By balancing tradition and modernity, they are creating a version of Islam that is both true to its roots and relevant to the 21st century. However, their journey is not without obstacles, and their ability to lead change will be crucial for the religion's survival in a rapidly transforming world. Amid the challenges facing Islam in the 21st century, internal conflicts, external pressures, prejudice, and cultural divisions, many Muslims are seeking to return to the core values of their religion. This quest to reconnect with Islam's essential principles is not merely a reaction to the difficulties of the modern world, but also an effort to rediscover the transformative power of a faith that, at its core, preaches peace, justice, compassion, and unity. The fundamental values of Islam are present in all its teachings, with the most prominent being Tawheed, the oneness of God. The belief that God is unique and sovereign is the central principle of Islam. This belief strengthens the spirituality of Muslims, reminding them of their direct connection with the Creator. Justice. The Quran repeatedly emphasizes the importance of justice as an essential ethical principle. Verse 4:135 states, "O you who believe, be steadfast in justice, witnesses for Allah, even if it is against yourselves." Mercy, God's name, Ar-Rahman, the Merciful, is mentioned in almost every chapter of the Quran. Compassion should guide personal and communal relationships in Islam. Community. The concept of Ummah reinforces the idea of a global Muslim brotherhood based on solidarity, mutual assistance, and the collective pursuit of a more just world. These values are more than theoretical principles. They form the foundation of a way of life that, when followed, can offer hope and guidance in times of crisis. Many Muslims are rediscovering the spirituality of Islam as an antidote to the chaos and alienation of the modern world. Practices such as prayer, salah, meditation on the words of the Quran, and fasting during Ramadan not only strengthen their connection to God, but also provide inner peace and mental clarity. Moreover, spiritual movements within Islam, such as Sufism, are experiencing renewed interest. Sufism, with its focus on devotion, love for God, and the pursuit of inner purification, offers a deeply contemplative approach that appeals to Muslims seeking meaning and purpose. Another central aspect of reconnecting with Islamic values is service to the community. Inspired by the principle of zakat, obligatory charity, many Muslims have committed themselves to social initiatives such as feeding the needy, providing educational assistance, and supporting refugees. Islamic organizations worldwide have shown that Islam is not only a faith of individual devotion, but also a force for social change. Through these efforts, Muslims are restoring the perception of Islam as a religion that promotes justice and compassion in all areas of life. Islam teaches that reconciliation and forgiveness are essential for building harmonious societies. Many Muslim leaders have promoted these values in response to the internal and external conflicts affecting the Islamic community. A striking example is the work of reconciliation in war-torn regions such as the Middle East and parts of Africa. These efforts reflect the spirit of Quran 49:10, which states, "The believers are but brothers, so make peace between your brothers and fear Allah that you may receive mercy." Reconnecting with the essential values of Islam also involves reinterpreting them to address contemporary challenges. Many scholars argue that Islamic values of justice and compassion can be applied to modern issues such as climate change, human rights, and gender equality. For instance, the concept of Khalifa, humanity's responsibility as stewards of the earth, is often cited in discussions on sustainability. Similarly, compassion and mercy are promoted as foundations for resolving humanitarian crises and fostering peace. One of Islam's most powerful messages is that its essence transcends cultural and ethnic differences. By reconnecting with essential values, Muslims have also reaffirmed the idea that diversity within the Ummah is a strength, not a weakness. Quran 49:13 encapsulates this principle. "O humanity, we created you from a single man and woman and made you into peoples and tribes so that you may know one another." This emphasis on unity and diversity is crucial for Islam's survival in the 21st century, as it encourages Muslims to unite regardless of their internal differences. Throughout history, Islam has shown remarkable resilience, overcoming both external and internal challenges to establish itself as one of the world's major religions. However, the 21st century represents a critical moment for the Islamic faith, as it faces a combination of global transformations that raise fundamental questions about its survival, relevance, and ability to adapt. Islam is currently one of the fastest-growing religions in the world, but growth alone does not guarantee long-term stability. Internal conflicts, such as the divisions between Sunnis and Shiites, and external tensions, such as prejudice and Islamophobia, are challenges that can weaken the cohesion of the Islamic community. Additionally, rapid technological advances and globalization challenge Muslims to reinterpret their faith without compromising its core values. Despite these challenges, Muslims have demonstrated impressive resilience and innovation. Young leaders are shaping the future of Islam, using the tools of the modern world to preserve their traditions while adapting to change. Social movements, community initiatives, and interfaith dialogues are contributing to a stronger, more inclusive Islam that is in touch with contemporary challenges. A recurring theme throughout this discussion is the need for unity within the Islamic world. Despite historical and cultural divisions, the idea of Ummah, a global community of believers, remains a central aspiration for Muslims. Only through cooperation and dialogue, both internal and external, will it be possible to address the challenges of the 21st century. Unity also entails reconciliation with the non-Islamic world. Many Muslims have worked to dispel stereotypes and show that Islam is a force for peace, justice, and compassion. Reconnecting with Islam's essential values is not only necessary for the survival of the religion, but also for its contribution to the strengthening of multicultural and interfaith societies. Looking ahead, Islam has the potential to remain one of the world's leading spiritual and cultural forces. However, its relevance will depend on how its followers address the most pressing issues of our time, including promoting peace in conflict zones, ensuring environmental sustainability based on Islamic principles of stewardship, defending human rights, including gender equality and social justice, and adapting to scientific and technological advancements while maintaining a connection to spiritual values. The future of Islam is not solely a matter for religious leaders and scholars. Every Muslim, in their own way, plays an important role in preserving and strengthening the faith. Whether through everyday actions, educating their families, or engaging with their communities, each believer contributes to Islam's global narrative. Islam has a legacy of transformation, renewal, and spiritual strength that has prepared it to face many challenges throughout history. While the 21st century brings its own difficulties, it also offers unprecedented opportunities for Islam to thrive as a religion that inspires peace, unity, and purpose. As the Quran states in 94 verse 6, "Indeed, with hardship comes ease." Let this be the guiding message for Islam's future, a faith that even in challenging times finds ways to prosper and offer the world a vision of justice, compassion, and hope. Thanks